Welcome to Design Domination, where you'll gain confidence, clarity, and a competitive edge in a crowded marketplace so you can dominate your competition. Hi, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Colleen Grotzer, and in this episode of Design Domination, I'm talking about where to find clients that need accessibility services. Stay tuned to get tons of ideas for where to find these accessibility clients. Designers who are new to doing accessibility work for clients often ask me, where do I find clients needing accessibility services? Well, let me tell you, they're everywhere and it's not hard to find them. Now, first off, I think all clients benefit from accessibility, right? But it's often easier to go for the low-hanging fruit, the clients that are already knowledgeable about accessibility and understand that they need it, as opposed to trying to educate other clients about it and trying to get them on board. Well, the first group of clients that need accessibility are government agencies. In the United States and in other countries, there are federal laws that require accessibility. Section 508, for instance, applies to the federal government in the US. Now, ironically, government agencies are notorious for having inaccessible documents and websites. And you don't have to look at just federal government agencies either. You can look into local government agencies as well, right? So state governments, county governments, and so forth. They might have their own accessibility laws. For instance, California has the Unruh Civil Rights Act and also AB 434. Ontario, Canada has the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. Okay, now to work with some governments though, you might be required to simply register on a certain website where they pool potential contractors from, but some government agencies might require some sort of a background check. I actually had to have that done in order to work for a certain agency, and I think it was called a public trust or something. But it involved providing some business documents and some tax returns in person to a government agent, and then I had to go get fingerprinted. That was quite an adventure, to say the least. Now, a lot of times with government work, you will need to also go through an RFP process in order to get the work. Okay, so these are all things to consider. You really need to figure out if the hoops that you have to jump through are worth the potential work that you might get. Okay, there's also non-governmental organizations that get funding from the government. And if that's the case, then accessibility may apply to them as well. So for instance, I've worked with a lot of nonprofit organizations who aren't funded as a whole by the government, but they've received federal funding in the form of a grant for a specific project, right? So that project was required to be accessible because it was federal money that paid for it. Now, I also worked with a nonprofit based in Virginia that was overseen by another organization, which happened to be in California. And because of the laws in California, the project had to be accessible. Okay, you can also think about higher education as well. I once did an accessibility audit that involved 3 UK college websites. There are also nonprofits that specifically serve people with a disability. You know, whether or not they have a legal requirement for accessibility, they need the people they serve to be able to access their content, right? And plus, they don't want to look like hypocrites by not having an accessible website and accessible documents. Now, another group to think about approaching about accessibility services is private commercial businesses that serve the public, places of public accommodation, right? So you've got libraries, schools, banks, accountants, lawyers, hotels and restaurants, grocery stores, retail stores, doctors, public transportation, movie theaters, right? So there's a lot of different types of businesses, and that's not even all of them. That's just a small list of them. Okay, then there's also businesses that are focused on DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they usually publicly mention this like on their website or in their annual reports. So that should be pretty easy to find. I've had a few large corporate clients that prioritize DEI. Now, the other thing that, and you might have overlooked this, is that you can also connect with others in the accessibility space, you know, on LinkedIn and on various accessibility forums like the IAAPs. The accessibility space is small. Okay, and many people specialize in certain areas, right? So it's much more granular than just accessible websites or accessible documents. It's more like accessible website remediation, accessible document remediation, accessible InDesign and PDF documents, or manual website audits, for example. So you can partner with others that specialize in services that you don't provide and vice versa. So if you specialize in accessible website design, but you don't do any code or any development work, you can partner with someone who is not a designer who focuses on development. Now, I do a lot with both accessible documents and websites, but I still constantly refer work to others based on, their particular skills, and not in accessibility, but also in their website skills, right? So I don't do membership or e-commerce sites, for example. I don't want any part of that. But I know someone who does, so I would refer those clients to a colleague who specializes in accessibility and those types of sites. Okay. I do custom web development, but I don't offer maintenance plans. So I would do custom dev work and then refer the client to a colleague for ongoing maintenance. Okay, so that should give you a great place to get started with getting new clients for accessibility work. And by the way, you don't have to live in the area where your clients would be. You might be in Canada, but you can still help organizations in the US, And I also know of several website auditors who are in the UK who help companies in the US. So don't get discouraged if there are no specific accessibility laws where you are. Okay, and the other thing is definitely start talking to other types of clients about accessibility too, and its benefits. If you need help getting that accessibility conversation started, be sure to check out my free guide on understanding and selling accessibility at creative-boost.com/accessible websites. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.